Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
Welcome everybody, welcome back to Combat Sports UK, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with UFC welterweight Billy Goff, who will be making his long-anticipated UFC debut in Singapore, August 26th. Now, firstly, Billy, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you, my man?
I'm great. Now, the first question I wanted to ask was sort of, how's your training camp gone? Now that you're a couple weeks away from the fight, how are you feeling? And yeah, how are you feeling a couple weeks away?
I feel pretty good. It's been a pretty good camp. I've done a couple things differently this camp. Definitely prioritized recovery a lot more this camp, and my body's thanked me for it. I mean, you always get bumps and bruises, and things are tight, and things hurt and ache. But I've definitely felt better this camp than I have in a lot of my other camps, and I'm excited to see how it pays off.
And so the second thing I wanted to ask you was a bit about what your traveling plans are, because obviously you're fighting quite far away from the States. What sort of decisions have you made in terms of when you're traveling? Obviously you'll be a complete change in time zone, and how you sort of feel about fighting in Singapore, and what sort of atmosphere are you anticipating while you're there fighting?
I think it's going to be pretty cool to see a new place. I get to travel the world because of my hands, and I'm not too worried about the travel. I've never got jet lag. I've never had issues flying. Now I've only flown 8 hours. I've never flown 20. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm not too worried about it. I'd like to get there. My biggest thing is I'd like to get there in the morning. I'd like to travel and sleep on the plane as much as I can. I usually can. And get there in the morning. So when I wake up, I can just go. Just get off the plane and go with my normal day. Kind of, if I'm a little tired, if I'm a little groggy, just push through it and then crash that night. I got to be there by Tuesday before the fight to get at some point Tuesday. It's for a bunch of media things. So we'll see.
And in terms of the atmosphere, when you're actually going to be in the arena ready to fight, what sort of atmosphere are you expecting? Obviously, because you are fighting a Japanese fighter. I know it's not the exact same country, but are you expecting hostility, or are you just expecting, if anything, you're just going to drown it out and just focus on your fight? But
yeah, it wouldn't be an issue if there was. I've gone in, like when I fought Gary Boletto, we were fighting, he's out of Rhode Island, and we were fighting in his state, in his crowd. So everybody was for him. I've done that a bunch in Massachusetts. So it's not anything I'm not used to. So if it's good, and if it's a really huge crowd, I've fought in big crowds before. I fought in 10,000 seats. So I don't expect anything that I'm not prepared for.
Okay. Now, I kind of want to cast your mind back to this time last year, August 2022. And so you just won your fight on the Contender Series. You'd finished the fight. The momentum was there. And what stuck out to me was during the media afterwards, you'd basically mentioned that 2022 was a bit of a whirlwind of a year. It'd gone so... you'd won 2 belts, and now you'd basically been signed by the UFC. I kind of wanted to ask, how have you taken the last year in stride? Because you'd had a fight booked obviously earlier in the year, and injuries are sort of part of high level sport. But I kind of wanted to get your insight about, you'd waited all this time to get a UFC debut, and the timing wasn't the timing that you'd really have wanted. You didn't want a whole year layoff between signing to the UFC and fighting. So yeah, so kind of what sort of insight, how has this year been for you, and how have you sort of kept your blinders on and kept the faith that this day will eventually arrive and that you'd be fully prepared for it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's been very frustrating, to say the least. It's having to get surgery, having to sit out, having to not be able to work out, having to sorry, somebody tried calling me. Having to sit out, having not being able to train as much as I want, not being able to fight, having to pull out of a fight, which I hate doing. And I was after the contender series, I wanted to fight that year. So I wanted to fight before the year was up, make my debut, keep the momentum going. And I got a suspension, so that wasn't going to happen. So it was all right, whatever. We'll get what's next. We'll see what we're going to get. And then got hurt, had to get surgery. Took a while to get surgery, which was annoying. Then surgery, I went out to the PI for some training. Like I started training, so I got surgery January, and I started training March.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't at 100%, but I could start moving, I could start doing stuff. I'm great now. This whole camp because at a certain point in like May, I was able to start going 100%. I still had pains, I still had issues, but it wasn't stopping me. It was just all right. See a kinesiologist, get some work done, do a little bit of PT. It'll get better. And now it's great. I don't have any problems. And I was trying to get a fight the June, July, anytime I could get it. I was even trying possibly doing May. And it was hard to get somebody booked. It's hard to get a venue, hard to get an opponent, but so even though it took a while and it was frustrating, it was giving me time to get back in shape, to get lifting, to get in fight mode. And the whole time off, I was just thinking, I can't wait to make my debut. I just kept thinking about that debut. I just kept thinking about being on that UFC canvas, having the gloves on. And it was exciting just to think about it. So that's really what kind of got me through the whole kept me on the right path, kept me focused on what I need to be focused on. It's like, all right, I'm going to do everything I can right now. I'm in a weird period where it's more about recovery, and I got to take care of myself, and I'm going to do everything right now in this phase so that when I get to the debut and I get to the fight, that I'll be able to do the most I can.
And I guess that can only be a good thing, that you've had a couple months more to prepare yourself mentally and physically, and you don't want to take your UFC debut not at 100%. You know, if you're feeling great now, it's only going to be beneficial, and probably you've improved your skills since then as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to eventually seeing you fight, because when I'd watched the Contender Series, and that leads into one of my questions as well, because you were mentioning you had all this time to think about the debut, the time to think about what it would actually feel like to eventually get that first UFC win. Now, my question is, when you closed your eyes at night and you've had a whole year to think about it, how does that sort of feel? And have you got like a specific finish in mind, or like, because obviously you'd faced a little bit of adversity in the Contender Series fight, but you showed that you had the grit to overcome that and win within the same round. So it's what sort of version of Billy Goff are we to expect in this fight?
The best version. I feel better than I ever have. I feel crisper. I feel sharper. And I feel more mentally prepared. I think I'm going to be able to go into this one a little more present, a little calmer. You never know until you get in there, unless everybody's got a plan until they get punched. And I always think about it, worst case scenario, it turns into a 15-minute or a 25-minute just war. Just, it's going to be hell. It's going to be brutal. It's going to hurt, and it's going to suck. And I'm prepared to win that. And because I'm prepared to win that, if I show up and everything's on the money and I'm crisper and cleaner, which I hope to eat less head kicks, and get another first round finish. That's the plan.
Yeah. I mean, it must be a good feeling to have that, knowing that if it was to be a dogfight, you definitely feel like you can go there and you've got an advantage, and it's just about not necessarily having to go to that place, and being the crisper and more technical fighter to get him out of there with a minimal damage, so that you'll be able to fight. You'd missed a year, but you'd be able to fight again and again, maybe again at the back of the year. So now I wanted to ask you a little bit about your opponent. What sort of things do you feel you have a complete advantage over? And if anything, is there anything coming from him that you just have to be a little bit wary of, and keep your wits about you, and yeah, your advantages and things you just have to keep wary of?
Yeah, he's good. He had a really nice knockout on the Contender Series. He's a good striker. He likes to come forward. He likes to push the pace. And he's young. He's hungry. He's coming off a loss, so he really wants to get that one back. And I don't know. I haven't seen too much of his grappling. In his last fight, it didn't look like he had the best base of grappling, but you never know. It's just one fight. And he's had a while to work on it. So I'm prepared to step in there with a great wrestler, a great jiu-jitsu player. And we'll see. I mean, he likes to push forward. I like to push forward. And it's just going to be a matter of who comes out on top when we crash in the middle.
And do you have an idea of,
But
is it a specific technique that you've been working on, or something that you're like, he's not going to be able to handle that when I start landing?
the biggest thing is, and honestly, if you watch, like, I'm always prepared. Like, I'm prepared to step in there against the greatest fighter in the world. That's how I'm preparing myself. That's how I push it when I'm in cardio, when I'm in training, when I'm in drills, trying to be perfect. And I don't think he's going to. We'll see. It depends on how his cardio is. I don't think he's going to be able to handle my pace, because most people haven't been able to. Most people can't. So we'll see. I think that's going to be one of the biggest factors: is can he keep up? Can he keep up with the pace? Can he? Is he going to get tired? Yeah, like, he's good. He's a good fighter. He's going to come forward. He's got good striking, and I think my striking's better. I think my grappling's better. I think my cardio is better. I think I've fought better guys, and I think and of course I think I want it more. You never know. Everybody in the UFC wants to be a champion. At least most of them do. Especially the younger guys. They have a dream they're chasing. So we're gonna see who's the better guy that night.
And you're talking about the road to being a champion. What sort of roadmap do you sort of have now? You've got a date fixed at the end of the month. You pretty much have five months left of 2023. Do you feel like you want to catch up on lost time and have another fight, come out unscathed and have another fight by the end of the year?
That's the goal. I mean, hopefully we get a quick, easy first round finish. And we can turn around and get on the November card at Madison Square Garden. That's the goal.
I was just about to ask you, is there a particular card that you've got in mind? But the New York card looks like a pretty good one for you to make a statement after a statement win. Making another statement would be pretty big.
Yeah, and it would be less traveling. I don't have to
exactly.
fly. I could just drive.
Yeah. I just wanted to get your opinion on. So obviously you're on the card with the Max Holloway and the Korean Zombie. Kind of just wanted to get your prediction. How do you see this fight sort of going?
I see Max Holloway winning by decision. The Korean Zombie, I mean, everybody's got a punch his chance, and the Korean Zombie's very good. He's a veteran. He's well experienced, so he could absolutely get it. If both of them show up at their best, I think Max Holloway's better.
Okay, well, I tend to agree. And lastly, I'll kind of give you the floor. Have you got any messages for the people that are anticipating your debut, the fans, and what they can expect, and if you've got any shout out to anyone as well?
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody, if you watch my fights, if you watch me fight, it's going to be exciting. It might not go super cleanly and super crisp the way I would like it to, but it's going to be exciting, and it's going to be a good scrappy fight. But a huge thank you to my team, Team Dexter Valley Tudo. That's their Instagram page. The Rough House is their Facebook page. All of my teammates, Austin Shala, Jake Kasky, Randy Francis, Eric Zane, Kevin Kirko, my jiu-jitsu coach, my coach Dexter, Brennan Ward. He's been helping me out a ton. He's fighting tonight against Logan Storley. He's taking that #1 spot. And they've just, my friends, family, everybody who's been supporting me along the way. And it's just, I hope I can make it all worth it. That's the plan.
Well, Billy, the best of luck. I'll be watching. I'll be staying up to watch you fight, and I hope you get a nice W in Singapore, and round one finish. That's what
that's the plan.
All right.
Yeah,
Best
I'm prepared
of luck,
to go
Billy.
10 rounds if needed, though.
You got the cardio for that. No doubts.
Yes.
Billy, thank you very much for the interview, and have a great day.
Absolutely, I appreciate the time.
Cheers.
See you, my man.